Claim your free AirPods today by clicking the first link in the description down below.
r/AskReddit. What was the worst time you walked in on someone? Walked in on my dad when he had porn up on his computer. Duck these pop-ups. Okay dad. Well, he's not wrong. These pop-ups stuck. I used to sleep at my cousin's house all the time. I was raised by my mother and she's a nurse. So I spent many nights there. One night when I was 12 I was at his house. It was just us and his 3 younger siblings. When I stayed there I crashed in his room. So, around 9 PM I say I'm going in the shower. His shower used to take a long time for the water to become hot. So I turned the water on and went into the living room with my towel on and watched Who Wants to Be a Millionaire for about 10 minutes. Then I hear a bunch of shit falling in my cousin's room. So I walk towards it. I open the door and there's my cousin. Completely naked with a dish towel wrapped around his erect peen. And he's knocking everything down in the room with his peen. I'm talking sports figurines. A lot of books. VHS tapes. Video games. Basically anything you could think of that would be in a 13-year-old's room. So I say what the duck cause he just looked at me calmly and said I thought you were in the shower. I was going to clean it up. I always do. Never mentioned it again. Edit. Sorry about the water running for so long. And thank you kind stranger for my first gold. Edit. Okay you ducking manipulators. It's 2014 Saturday morning. Right now in Brooklyn. And I'm hammered with my cousin in Bay Ridge and I ducking. Brought it up and said bro. Remember the time when we were kids and I walked in on you smashing everything in your room with your cock? And I gave a laugh to show that I didn't care. Just busting his balls. And he said to me yeah. Laughs. That was great. I didn't tell him about the Reddit post. But I said so. Why the duck were you doing? That he said he did it until he was about 16. He would normally hit things with his peen until it hurt. Then he would jerk off. Back then he thought the pain would be similar to ducking a girl because he's slamming his peen against something, but by the time he got older he realized that wasn't the case, so he stopped doing it. He said it basically just became fun for him to slap his peen into things. And now he asks girls to slap them in the face with his peen. He also said he ducked a hamper and a vacuum as well. You're welcome everybody. We then took a shot of Jameson and laughed for 5 minutes. Edit. 3. Peen was used to turn off the TV confirmed, and he also destroyed my room with his peen. Occasionally. This has turned into an all night, now 0521, conversation. Love Reddit. I was going to clean it up. I always do. At least he's a stand-up guy about his peen swinging. Good guy peen swinging cousin always picks up his figurines when he's done. I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with 4 guys, so it was 2 guys per room. I usually left first because of my job. One day, I realized I had forgotten some important documents and came back to get them. I opened up the door to my room and found my roommate laying naked on his bed, his legs up in the air, and blow drying his balls. He later explained to me that he had some sort of jock itch and needed to keep that area moisture free. That image is burned into my brain to this day, and on his birthday, every year, I sent him a picture of a blow dryer. That's what a BJ is, right? Right. I hope so, because when I ask my wife for one that's what she does to me. I walked into my best friend's house as he was about to kill himself with a rifle. I came in unannounced to grab something, and he was sitting in a chair face bright red wiping tears off his face. I looked at him. And a few feet away leaning against a couch was his rifle. I looked at him. The rifle. And he stares at the floor. He's been going through a really hitty breakup with custody problems and a psycho ex ruining his life. I asked if he was gonna be okay. He just kinda stared away and says yeah. I think so. Yeah. That was 15 years ago, and he is okay, and we are still good friends. Edit. Okay. I guess that was probably the best timing. I had thought of it as worst thing I had walked in on. For him it was no doubt the worst time of his life right up to that point anyways. As for why I didn't take the gun, it just didn't occur to me to. He probably had a few more anyways. There's lots of guns around here. It's hard to explain what it was like. It seemed like both he and I realized at the same time what he was doing. If that makes sense. I cannot possibly reply to everyone, but thank you all for sharing your experiences too. I want to put this out there too based on a few replies. If you don't think you have a friend like this, well, you probably do. I did not think I was a friend like this either. But I was on that day. You always have somebody who cares about you, even if you aren't aware of it. No, that was probably the best time to walk in. Could have gone a whole different way if he didn't have a friend there right then. Have to agree here. A worse time to walk in might have been even 1 minute later. Glad to hear that your friend is alive and well. Do you know there are people in their mid-80s still having hot, sweaty, hair pulling, ass spanking, dirty talking ex? I know there are. I accidentally walked through a room where my 80-plus-year-old friend was banging his 80-plus-year-old girlfriend. They didn't know I was there, and it took a full minute to get out of the room. Apparently an 80-year-old woman can still be a naughty girl who needs a good, hard ducking. You go. My man Howard. My wife's paternal grandfather died at just over 100. His second wife, he was a widower, was a youthful lady at the time. They had ex the morning he died. When I went over after getting the call to wait for the funeral home to come get his body, we were chatting, and she was like, he seemed okay this morning. Since he woke me up with some great ex. You know, he never even needed Viagra. I'm hoping I go the same way. Edit to clarify. While laughing miles off. I just hope when I'm ready to depart one get lucky that morning. But not with grandma. And God thus spake to /u/Polybia champion. And ye shall die as prayed. Getting plowed by a rock hard centenarian. And it was good. I walked in on my mom watching the Now Princess Volta tape she had confiscated from me the day before. Edit. Wow, the most embarrassing moment of my teenage years has 9k upvotes. No. I never got my tape back. I also never again caught shade for watching porn. I'm so sorry, and not at the same time. That's hilarious. My parents having X in the bathtub. Edit. Everyone commenting about corpses and Santa Clarita. That was really so confusing, since I haven't heard of it before. Is it worth to check it out? I imagine this inspired your username. I can't tell whether it's Violet Screams or Violet Screams. I, 25F, was being toured around a house I was planning to rent a room in from Craigslist by the owner. The last bedroom door was closed. So he knocked and opened the door to reveal a husky man with headphones on aggressively jerking off. I still rented the room. Must have been some peen. He came with the place. In our university's music school, there are several organ practice rooms. As an instructor, I had the keys and was checking to see that the blowers were turned off before leaving. When I opened the door, I heard human sounds coming from behind the organ console, but couldn't see exactly who it was. I took a quick peek and knew immediately that it was one of my organ students and someone he obviously was into. I spared them any embarrassment by tiptoeing out of the room discreetly and locking the door quietly behind me. As far as I could tell, they never knew I saw them, and I didn't comment at our next organ lesson, waiting to see if he ever noticed my presence. Sounds like someone was getting some organ practice of his own. Some throw roses, others throw tulips. I was madly in love. I got off work a bit early, picked up fish and chips for my amazing fiancée, who just a month before had said yes to my proposal. Unfortunately, when I got home earlier than she expected, I literally walked in on her ducking some dude, both as naked going at it like the end of the world. And yet, we hadn't had X in months because she hadn't been feeling well. Some guy I'd never seen before, in my ducking apartment, on my ducking bed, with my ducking woman. They didn't even hear me come in the apartment, lol. In hindsight, I'm glad I found out before we got married, but it still really ducked me up. I wanna say I did something awesome like beat the guy up or whatever, but I just waited, took a good 30 seconds for her to notice me and then walked out. It was that, or murder the ducking pair of them right then and there. Sometimes I wish I had done just that, but only sometimes. Awkward. Damn. That's rough. How long has this been? Do you still have contact with her? No. That was almost 4 years ago now. She ran off with whoever the duck that guy was, and I spent 2 years blackout drunk and suicidal because I blamed myself. Doing better now though. But I doubt I'll ever actually trust anyone in a relationship again. Used to walk into my buddy's house without knocking. Walked in on his mum and dad going at it big style in the front room at 2 PM on a Tuesday. Big style, Jesus Christ. WTF is big style. In college, one of my friends / roommates had a girlfriend we all liked. Cool chick. Except I somehow walked in on her hitting 5 different times in a year. It got so ridiculous that I got antsy about going to any bathroom with her around. It took a year for me to stop yelling through bathroom doors before I went inside. Savages. Shut. Did you exclusively dwell intense? Ever hear of a bathroom lock? Better yet, a bathroom knock? Knock knock. Opens door. Got you again. Hit boy. Walked in on my flatmate getting pounded on the kitchen table. I've been that flatmate. And I'm sorry. But you said you were going to visit your parents, Daniel. You said you were going to visit your parents, Daniel. And that's why you always leave a note. I didn't personally walk in, but my mom did. I was told to stay outside. I was about 15 and me and my best friend, along with my mom, went shopping and we came home to see my brother's girlfriend's car parked in our driveway. So me and my friend were all like, oh, you know what they're doing, and my mom was brushing us off. She told us to wait outside and we went into the house and quickly came out covering her eyes. Repeating, I saw nothing. She caught my brother and his girlfriend mid-act in the living room. My mom was mortified and me and my friend were thrilled we were right. How did your mom reach afterwards? Like, after the ex and everyone's dressed? She avoided it. Like she chanted, I didn't see anything for the longest time. I think my brother was scared she'd tell our dad cause he was only 16 and they had a rule about GF/BFS over when parents are home, but she was too mortified to even mention it. The day I saw the 2 biggest peens I've ever seen. I was the foreman working for a construction company years ago and we were remodeling a Holiday Inn. Each morning I would get the list of rooms that were supposed to be empty for the day so we could go in and do our thing. The hotel gave me a master key so I could open the doors without having to get the manager. I got my crew started on the first room and I was going through the list and knocking/entering each room and blocking the doors open so my crew could move on to the next room without having to get me to open the doors. I got to the 2nd floor and knocked on a door. Didn't hear anything and nobody opened the door, so I slid the key and opened the door. I walked in and there were 2 of the largest naked African American guys I've ever seen standing at the end of a bed and a girl laying on the bed naked wanking. There was also a camera and umbrella light off to a corner. It took me a second to realize what I was looking at. As I was coming to the realization that I walked in on some kind of a porn shoot, one of the guys turned toward me, said, "Come on in, man. You wanna hit this?" I must have looked like a deer in the headlights to them because when he turned toward me, I saw literally the biggest peen I've ever seen. I've been in locker rooms at gyms, so you see peens from time to time, but this thing was from another world. It looked angry and it scared me. It was easily a foot long. So as I'm standing there trying to figure out if that thing is real, the other guy starts walking over toward me and his buddy, and there it is, another massive peen. These peens could have been twins. They were as big as my 26-year-old arm. All I could do was say, "I'm sorry," and back up to leave the room. I got out of the room, shut the door, and started to walk down the hallway. One of my crew was coming down the hallway toward me and I started to tell him what I just saw, but the door opened behind me and one of the guys just walked out into the hallway totally naked saying, "Come on back, man. You can hit this. She'll suck your peen." I just told him I had to go, motioned to my buddy to turn around, and we went back to the 1st floor. He saw the guy's peen in the hallway too and had the same look on his face that I did. I didn't speak Spanish at that point, so I couldn't understand what my crew was saying the rest of the day, but I knew what they were talking about because they kept putting their arm out like it was a peen and saying "grand." From that point on, that guy in the hallway was known as the elephant trunk guy. TL. Dr. I was working construction remodeling a hotel and walked in on two black guys with massive peens ducking a girl on camera in a hotel room. It looked angry and it scared me. I laughed so ducking hard at this part. Yeah. That whole story is hilarious. Reminds me of a comment some chick made here on AskReddit after seeing her first really big peen. I didn't know whether to try and suck it or feed it a peanut. Greater than sign. 2nd grade. Bathrooms without locks. Walked in on a girl on the toilet. She screamed. I screamed. Never forget. Edit. Apparently this is an elementary school rite of passage we all must endure. Who would have guessed? I had this same experience. Except I was in 1st grade. Are you a slightly older me? Yes. I'm sure it was you. I'd recognize that voice anywhere.